Hello, everyone. Hope you are well on this Sunday morning. Go Dogs. Had a slow start yesterday, but they finally woke up and took care of business. I know if you do follow college football, I know we have a variety of fans, different schools on this channel. If you do, let us know. Put in the comments who you follow. Who is your team? I know tonight is another good game. Again, Florida State versus LSU. I think we have fans of both of those teams on this channel. So I will definitely be watching that game. Should be a good one. Several things to cover today. Your privacy has been in jeopardy. Your privacy is even more so in trouble. It's definitely worrisome. I'll go into that. Also, a stark warning for the U.S. economy from Kevin O'Leary. I'll go more into that, and I tend to believe him. This guy, he knows what he's talking about. But first, I also have a passage, of course, that I will share with you guys. So stay tuned for that. But first, if you like the video, hit the like button. It does help us out. And if you haven't yet subscribed, do consider subscribing to the channel. Again, that helps us out. We do appreciate that. I do request keeping us in prayer. Mrs. Dawg and I went down to visit my parents yesterday, spent the day there helping them out and doing some things for them, running some errands and doing all we could in a day. My brother does live very close to them, so he has been also very helpful. But we just went down there and to give him a break, main thing. But it's a tough, many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've dealt with it, but tough thing to watch, to see your parents. And my parents are in their 80s, and they have been active and been able to get around into their 80s. And so to watch them go from that to such a steep decline quickly, tough, man, just tough to watch. So appreciate the prayers. Okay, I will get right into it. Smart, and you hear about these things more and more now with these huge, and we talked about it, these huge apartment complexes that are going up everywhere, all over the country, not just in large cities, but the smart devices, they've been around for a while, but the smart cities you're hearing more of, from Hawaii to all over the place. And they're all the rage now, and I believe it is pointing to a pattern to basically end your privacy. I really do. It's destroying it little by little, and it's ramping up. I saw some stories. One was a gaming publisher, Activision. Now they make that game Call of Duty. You've probably heard about it, but they are deploying an AI to monitor chats for quote unquote hate speech and quote unquote harassment during their online matches. Now, this is a game where, people get online and they have the headsets and they're talking to each other and they're on teams and such as that, It's a gaming thing. But that just makes you wonder, like, what do they consider harassment and what do they consider quote unquote hate speech? So you know what's going on there. Also, another story, United States Special Ops Command has contracted a New York-based AI firm to deploy a system called Argus, Argus. This system will detect and neutralize, quote unquote, neutralize real-time disinformation threats on social media. Now, what does that sound like to you? I mean, share your thoughts on that one. But the way that's put out there, whew, all right. And then I saw this one. New York City will use drones to monitor crowd sizes and police noise complaints, quote unquote, at private and public parties over the Labor Day weekend, over this weekend. I think they need to concentrate on the freaking crime that's out of control over there. I mean, and I know several of you, at least several of you, that I know of live in New York City or around, in the area. I mean, let it, weigh in on this. I mean, have you heard about this? But I mean, you got random crime happening on the streets like never before there, and they're concerned with drones watching parties. Come on, man. I mean, it just, you know, it defies common sense, which is common these days. And then this story, EVs. Now, this I'm moving on from. This is just something I saw that I think is interesting. Uh, Electric vehicles. This is a warning that if they come into contact with salt water, it is crucial to relocate them, relocate them to higher ground. Now, I think this has come out after the flooding, after the hurricane down in Florida here recently. But contact with any EV coming into contact with salt water could cause it to burst into flames, especially if it's been submerged in flood waters. And this also applies not only to EVs, but hybrid vehicles. Hybrid vehicles are all the rage too right now. I wouldn't buy one personally. That's just me. If you do, hey, go for it. It's just not my thing. But so EV and hybrids, contact with salt water, recent flooding, move to higher ground. This also applies to electric golf carts, scooters, bicycles with lithium ion batteries. All right. I'm telling you, folks, that I would not. And I'm not saying I'm never for electric vehicles. I think we have a long way to go with technology. Now, if they can make if the technology advances, and when it does, to a point to where it is much more efficient and safe, I would be open to it. Heck yeah. I mean, but right now, it's not there. I mean, how is it viable when, especially on a large scale, when at the same time they're talking about warnings about the electrical grid, and you got to have rolling blackouts and all this kind of stuff to where the power is not there, it's not available to cover everything. How is it possible also to cover all these VEVs? I mean, it doesn't make sense, does it? I mean, hello. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, educate us. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. But as far as the smart devices and all that, I mean, and I know it's hard not to have one. I mean, your cell phone is probably monitoring a lot of stuff. I get it, but you're being monitored probably much more than you even realize. I mean, these smart TVs, Alexa, all that stuff. We've never had an Alexa. We don't have a robot running around on the floor trying to clean stuff. We clean it with a broom or a vacuum. I mean, I know old school, low tech, right? But it works too. Low tech works. But I'm not into the robots thing, but I know I get it. I mean, well, dog, you got a cell phone. Yeah, we do. I'm just saying that if you want to have if you want to ever have a truly private conversation, you need to either get in a room with no electronic devices, no smart devices for sure, or go out in a field and just be the two of you or a small group or whatever you got, and not near other hearing devices. And I don't even know if that's enough. I don't, if you're near one of these towers or something, I don't know if go down in a cave hundreds of feet down. I don't know if you can get total privacy anymore, y'all. And that's kind of a scary thought in a way, if you really, really think about it. All right, on to Mr. O'Leary, Kevin O'Leary. Now, this guy was a celebrity because he was, or is, I don't even know if the show is still on, but the show Shark Tank, where they'd have people come in that have these ideas about starting a business, and they would present it to these business leaders or entrepreneur leaders, whatever, and they would decide if they want to invest in it, that kind of stuff. I watched a few episodes, But anyway, this guy seems to know what he's talking about. I tend to believe him. But he says the economy, there's chaos about to begin in the economy. I think it's already began, but he says, wake up and smell the roses. That September we could start seeing the liquidity crisis really ramp up, especially for small businesses. The economic policies of this current administration are putting a huge squeeze on small businesses. Also, this is due to high interest rates. Now, 60% of America is small business. I would think it's maybe even higher than that, but this is what he said. This is where the jobs come from. 60% small businesses. He said they are struggling right now. Again, the interest rates going up is really hurting them a lot. Where is all the money going from all these policies? They're going to the behemoth companies in the S&P 500, the Inflation Reduction Act, and he mentioned a few other acts and all this kind of stuff, the government policies. The Inflation Reduction Act, another $1 trillion, not even printed, all going to the big guys. He said, so we have a crisis emerging. Companies with 500 employees even are going to be in big trouble. This represents 60% of the economy. The cost of their capital is skyrocketing right now. They're dealing with banks. The regional banks are in trouble. They're not lending. And the rates are going up from about 4.5% to anywhere from 11 to 17%. I mean, that's huge. But he predicts a lot of chaos. That's going to create a lot of chaos. So banks, especially the regional banks, he's predicting some mayhem for them, and jobs. This is going to affect jobs. I mean, you got 60% of the economy in this, so keep that in mind. And again, I'm not going to go too far into how I say it, but I believe it's part of a plan. I believe it's intentional. It's got to be. It's got to be. But I wanted to share that as well. So I'm going to get to the verse here, but share your thoughts on this stuff as well. I do appreciate it. All right, let me get to the passage. Oops. All right. Okay, this is from Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 4, verses 20 through 23 says, my son, pay attention to what I say. Turn your ear to my words. Do not let them out of your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them, and health to one's whole body. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Wise words for sure. And I believe this is a passage, or one of the passages that guy Anthony, I can't think of his name now. Anthony something. Anyway, the guy that's gained all this notoriety for those songs he's been singing. And I think it's interesting. He's trying to avoid really identifying with either the left or the right, which I think is very smart. He's keeping it focused on the common person, the middle class, the backbone of the country, the poor folks, even, just the regular folks, who are just trying to scratch out a living and doing it the right way. He was quoting a lot of this too. He was actually on Joe Rogan, which wow, quoting scripture on Joe Rogan's podcast. How about that? How about that? That's something. It really is. I mean, you really have to take notice at that. So let's keep preparing as in the days of Noah. Let's not get complacent. Grab a few extra when you go to the store. Let's keep doing what we can to be self-sufficient as much as possible. But again, share your thoughts. Let's be safe out there. God bless you. I'll see you soon.